Welcome back to Lecture 12 of Value Investing in Growing Companies. In the last lecture, we looked at how to use Stock Screener. We also opted several criteria to shortlist stocks that we can use for further detailed analysis. Hi, my name is John, and in this lecture we will discuss the crux of our stock hunting, looking at the annual reports. The annual reports gives us the overall picture of how the stock is going to perform in present, how it performed in the past, and how will it perform in the future. Often in the past, we have seen many companies have tried manipulating the financial data, and ended up on either major loss, or in many cases getting delisted from the stock exchange. Enron is one big example. The scandal publicized in 2001 eventually led to the bankruptcy of Enron Corporation, and de facto dissolution of Arthur Andersen, one of the 5 largest audit and accountancy partnerships in the world. The company, by the use of accounting loopholes, was able to hide billions of dollars in debts due to failed deals and projects. The share achieved a high of $90.75 per share in mid-2000, and falling below $1 per share when exposed. The company later that year filed for bankruptcy. You can also watch Enron, The Smartest Guys in the Room, a movie on Enron. Several similar scandals are found all over the world in the stock market. An investor needs to be keen and intelligent enough to find what's cooking in the company. It is said that the annual reports hide all the devil details. If an investor is able to read and understand the reports easily, he can invest in the stock market with ease. Warren Buffett said, "Never invest in a business you cannot understand." Now let's look at some of the sources of getting an annual report, and later understand its various sections. At the end of the financial year, a company by law have to present an annual report for its shareholders which describes a company's present performance, its past performance and its plans for future endeavors. Other than the annual report, a company also needs to show its quarterly performance. This is reflected by the quarterly report which a company needs to publish every 3 months. Let us look at sources of getting an annual report. 1. Company website. The easiest and the efficient way is to find the annual reports from the company's website. The annual reports are usually found in the investor relations section of the company. Here, we can see various resources to get annual report of Apple. On the top of the list is investor relations financial information. This will lead us to annual reports and quarterly reports of Apple. By the way, annual reports are also referred as 10K, and quarterly reports as 10Q in USA. The 10K and 10Q reports are based on a format issued by the Securities and Exchange Commission, and every single company have to follow this rule. It helps an investor to understand the report step by step. I have also attached the format of 10K and 10Q reports for ease of an investor. Please go through the format for clarification of reading annual reports. 2. Stock exchange website. If we are unable to find annual reports of the company from their respective websites, we might find them in stock exchange websites. Stock exchange website is a great tool to monitor not only the annual reports, but the daily activity of the stock and market. 3. Finally, we have thousands of paid and free financial websites, where you can get the annual reports. As the audiences of this course belong to many countries, it would be difficult to mainstream few sources that contain this information. I might later on attach all relevant websites pertaining to each country in this course. Now let's have a look at how to read the annual reports. 1. So the first thing is to look at the business information provided by the company. It is very important for an investor to understand the business dynamics of a company. You can view the business dynamics of the company in the Part 1 and Item 1 of the annual report. If an investor fails to understand the dynamics of a company, he can still call the investor relations department and ask the company for a brief as well. The companies conduct annual general meetings, AGM, for their shareholders as well. More of the AGM later in the later part of lecture. Take a good look at the annual report of Apple. I have also attached the file as well for you to read by yourself. The company specifically provides detail about its background, business strategy, products and services in the business section of the annual report. Let me read out some specific details here. The report says, the company designs, manufactures, and markets mobile communication and media devices, personal computers, and portable digital music players, and sells a variety of related software, services, accessories, networking solutions, and third-party digital content and applications. The company's products and services included iPhone, iPad, Mac, iPod, Apple Watch, Apple TV, a portfolio of consumer and professional software applications, iOS, OS X and Watch OS operating systems, iCloud, Apple Pay and a variety of accessory, service, and support offerings. Apple also talks about the business strategy of the company. The company is committed to bringing the best user experience to its customers through its innovative hardware, software, and services. The company's business strategy leverages its unique ability to design and develop its own operating systems, hardware, application software, and services to provide its customers products and solutions with innovative design, superior ease of use and seamless integration. Concentrate on the words its own operating systems, hardware, application software, and services. This is a big sustainable advantage for Apple. This is well reflected in the competition part, where the company specifically describes its competitors, the problems they face, and their future plans on tackling those problems. Take some time to read these. I am going to read a small part for you. Please refer to competition section on page 5 of annual report. The company's future financial condition and operating results depend on the company's ability to continue to develop and offer new innovative products and services in each of the markets in which it competes. The company believes it offers superior innovation and integration of the entire solution including the hardware, iOS devices, Mac, Apple Watch, and Apple TV, software, iOS, Mac OS, Watch OS and TV OS, online services, and distribution of digital content and applications, internet services. Some of the company's current and potential competitors have substantial resources and may be able to provide such products and services at little or no profit, or even at a loss to compete with the company's offerings. See how the company refers to its sustainable advantage by pointing out their competitors have substantial resources for providing such products and services, and low profit margins as compared to Apple. We clearly want as investors to buy companies' shares who is rich in resources and have good profit margins. Amazing, isn't it? The company also provides details of its products, online services, R&D, its patents, and copyrights as well. All these details come in first section of our annual report, the business dynamics. I suggest you to go through all this information very carefully. Remember, if you are buying a stock, you are becoming a part owner of this company, and you should be investing in a good understandable company. Secondly, we will be looking at the risk factors section of the company. Every company, according to the Securities and Exchange Commission, have to provide details for the potential risk that can be hazard to company. This should be looked in conjunction with management's discussion and analysis and financial condition of the company. The business, financial conditions, and operating results can be affected by a number of factors which can directly or indirectly cause company's financial condition to vary materially from past or from anticipated future. Because of these factors, as well as other factors affecting company's financial condition, past financial performance should not be considered to be a reliable indicator of future performance, and investors should be advised not to use historical trends to anticipate future periods. Apple have shown a great detail of possible risk factors that account for its financial performance. Some of these include: please refer to risk factors on page 7 of annual reports. 1. Global markets for the company's products and services are highly competitive and subject to rapid technological change, and the company may be unable to compete effectively in these markets. 2. To remain competitive and stimulate customer demand, the company must successfully manage frequent product introductions and transitions. 3. The company depends on the performance of distributors, carriers, and other resellers. 4. Future operating results depend upon the company's ability to obtain components in sufficient quantities on commercially reasonable terms. 5. The company depends on component and product manufacturing and logistical services provided by outsourcing partners, many of which are located outside of the U.S. 6. The company's future performance depends in part on support from third-party software developers and many more risks. In order to gain its shareholders' confidence, Apple have provided a great detailed risk factors that may affect its company. This is a very good sign from a company. Next, we will look at discussing the management's discussion and analysis, MDA, of financial condition and results of operations. This is the crux of the reading annual report. In this section, the management addresses the shareholders about their plans on any new product, expansion in the company, or any plans to counter the risk factors in the early discussion. It is advised for every investor to read this section of annual report. Write very important to your checklist for this section. Apple have shown the reasons for decline in its performance in 2016 as compared to 2015. Most of the factors were due to decline in net sales of iPhones, effect of weakness in most foreign currencies as compared to US dollars, increase in its capital return program. It also announced the increase of dividends last quarter, and repurchase of common stocks. The company gives specific details of its net sales according to products and region. The company also provides details of declining gross margins, selling and administrative expenses, and other related details. An investor should be looking at specific details for decline in its sale, any irregularity in sales, gross margin and debt of the company. By going over the details of Apple, it can be noted that overall sales and gross margins declined due to decline in net sales of iPhone and some other products specifically in China and Asia Pacific. Moreover, the company also gives specific details of capital return program as well. Refer to Part 2 Item 7 of the annual report. Let's move to the second part of MDA's section. The quantitative and qualitative disclosures about market risk. The company primarily mentions the risks again to the public and its solutions. For example, the company explains the foreign currency change in interest risk can alter the company's performance and it has decided to enter into interest rate swaps and foreign currency forward and options swaps that might prove beneficial for the company. Read the MDA section of the company carefully. It is also noted that any matters not disclosed or explained by the company can be asked in the annual general meeting, AGM. Next we will be looking at the auditor's report. The independent auditor is destined to look at the performance of the company, any deviation from the accepted accounting practices, any amounts that are not paid to the government, any default on payments, any frauds conducted by the company or its employees, etc. Now let's look at Apple's independent auditor's report. Ernst & Young have conducted this research. Please have a go at the auditor's report section of the annual report. The auditor has not given any alarming concern about the company's accounting reports and is fairly satisfied with his activities. The changes and in disagreements with accountants on accounting and financial disclosure under the same section also does not reflect any disturbing knowledge. The company has been good in following the accounting principles and fairly satisfying the auditors. On the contrary, I want to highlight of how the annual reports and auditors reflect the problems in the company. For this, let's have a look at annual report of General Motors in 2008. It was in June 2009, when General Motors filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy and investors lost all their investments. Later the same year, the U.S. Treasuries came to their rescue by injecting $49.5 billion. The auditors had already shown us the growing financial stress in the company early in 2008 annual report even before the company filed for bankruptcy. On page 137, it deliberately says, in our opinion, because of the effect of the material weakness identified above on the achievement of the objectives of the control criteria, the corporation has not maintained effective internal control over financial reporting as of December 31, 2008, based on the criteria established in Internal Control, Integrated Framework issued by the Committee of Sponsoring Organizations of the Treadway Commission. It also shows the growing concern of company to perform better. On page 138 of annual report it says the accompanying consolidated financial statements for the year ended December 31, 2008, have been prepared assuming that the corporation will continue as a going concern. As discussed in Note 2 to the consolidated financial statements, the corporation's recurring losses from operations, stockholders' deficit, and inability to generate sufficient cash flow to meet its obligations and sustain its operations raise substantial doubt about its ability to continue as a going concern. Management's plans concerning these matters are also discussed in Note 2 to the consolidated financial statements. The consolidated financial statements do not include any adjustments that might result from the outcome of this uncertainty. It shows the auditors had already raised concerns on its operations and financial instability in 2008. Any investor holding GM's share should have been cautious by reading these words of the auditor. The next thing we should look for in an annual report are the financial statements. The financial statements consist of profit and loss statement, also referred as income statement, the balance sheet and the cash flow statement. Please have a look at the annual report of Apple provided in the documents. We will be going in detail of the financial statements in the lecture of how to use financial statements. Since most of the online financial websites does not give details of the financial data, we also need to keep track of the details of these data from the annual report. This data is provided as form of notes at the end of the annual report. It is advised for a value investor to go through the notes of sales, cost of sales, debt, liabilities and assets and look for any discrepancies in the data. An investor who is able to read through the annual report and data can understand the discrepancies in the dynamics of the company. 6. Any information on the disclosure of annual general meeting of the company. This would reflect the details of the AGM or the annual general meeting and the agenda of the company. Okay, let's summarize the things we need to look at in the annual reports. 1. Understanding the business dynamics of the company in the business section. An investor needs to read this information very carefully, as it gives an insight into its business model, its strategies, its product, services, its competition, etc. 2. Risk factors. In this section, the company highlights the risks associated with this business. One should look in the details and try to read it in conjunction with the financial statements and the management discussion and analysis. 3. The management discussion and analysis. This is the crux of the annual report. In this section the management takes responsibility and highlights the problems it is facing and provides solutions to tackle them. An investor should not miss this section. 4. The independent auditor's report. The auditor's report gives us a clear picture from a third-party point of view. Although the auditor's responsibility is to check the functionality of the company, it also tells us if there is any going concern related, financial stress in the company, or problems pertaining to management plans or decisions. 5. The financial statements. The financial statements give us a quantitative analysis of a company. We will be covering this in the upcoming lectures. Reading the footnotes in this section is also very important. It is to note here that 10K have specific rules made according to Security and Exchange Commission. Many developed and developing countries do not use the format used in 10K reports. These countries have their own set of rules implemented by their respective Security and Exchange Commissions. In the next lecture, we will be looking at some extra details we need to look for in these annual reports. Till then, stay blessed and happy investing.